Hello.
Hello. Hello, all, and welcome to another edition of Showtime with Jordan von Haslow and Friends on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. I'm so glad you are joining us again this week. Today, I have another friend, a wonderful friend, the last model standing, the magnanimous Wendy Stuart.
Hello, Jordan.
Being here with. It's so funny. I always want to tell the audience. So Wendy and I met. I believe we met at the Metropolitan Museum.
On the rooftop.
On the rooftop, yeah. Having drinks on the rooftop with a large group of friends, and we started talking. We had such a wonderful time that after everyone else left, we just continued the evening. Wendy, her husband Alan Kaplan, and I think we had dinner at Eli's, and we just kept talking and talking.
God,
and we became very fast friends.
So great.
I totally remember it.
We took pictures on the rooftop because it was a spectacular sunset. It was such a great night. That was our first meeting.
It was, and it was fabulous. But I think that we've been trying to get on each other's calendars now for 5 years.
Jordan, you left New York 5 years ago?
I left New York almost 6 years ago. Well, see, I think at the time that we met, I was still commuting. So I was in LA during the week, and I was back at home in New York on the weekends.
Right.
Which, but hey, here you are.
Here we are. Here we both are.
So how have you been spending your spring break?
Okay. Oh, I love that you called it spring break because that is such a positive spin on the whole thing, right? So from the time this pandemic started, I knew I could feel something huge coming, and I knew we weren't getting the right information. And I thought to myself, I'm a performer, I'm an entertainer, I'm in New York nightlife. What the heck is going to happen to me with all of this? And it was probably March 11th. I had gone out. I did like the last of supporting friends in clubs and socializing. My last stop was at Pangea. It was on a Wednesday night. And I think it was Thursday they started telling people, stay home, stay home. But we didn't really know what that meant. So by that weekend, when things started crystallizing, I'm like, I am not going to die on the vine here. Not happening to this girl. I have got to come up with a way to keep myself out there during this. So this is the funniest part. I decided to come up with a show that I can shoot here. Now, it helps that I live with my husband, Alan, who is a videographer, master photographer, and we make documentary films in remote parts of the world, okay? So I've got my shooter. But what subject do I come up with? And Jordan, to this day, I can't tell you how or why, but it was like an epiphany. I'll do a cooking show.
Do you cook?
No, not only do okay, so yeah, anyone who knows me will tell you that I don't cook, and I really hate being confined in a kitchen. It's very claustrophobic for me. And if you open up my oven, most of the time I have books in there, like in the days when you had yellow pages. Remember this?
Yeah.
I would keep the yellow pages in there. I use it for a storage facility. I mean, sometimes I keep the stuff for the fish tank in there. So no, I don't cook. I only order in. Look, even where I'm sitting here, I've got my takeout menus. Okay, and I'm proud of that because you know what? I work so hard as a performer, a model, an author, a speaker. I don't have time to cook. So now all of a sudden my life changes, boom, overnight. And I came up with this idea for a cooking show, right? Big joke. It is called Pandemic Cooking with Wendy. And it's about what we all go through. And yes, I cook on the show, but if you look at the episodes, a lot of it is about my reaction and your reaction to being in this situation. And as a comedian, right, I am able to cloak really my anger and resentment about caught with our pants down, and not just the United States, the world. How could the world with its pants down like this? How could such a thing have happened? So I weave that in between my little speeches while I'm cooking in the kitchen. Like my latest episode is about flying on an airplane, right?
I watched it. Did you ever determine why the French are making feta cheese?
Right, because we're doing it Greek style. Listen, because all of my shows have a little sexual innuendo over there. They're definitely skewed like LGBTQ. They're definitely skewed drag. You know, I have a big drag personality. Everyone always has said you're a drag queen and a regular girl's body. But again, it's Wendy's sense of humor, and it really gives me a chance to use it. And then, of course, that first episode that I came up with really happened because I had, in a panic, back in the days when you could get fresh direct to deliver. That was what, like my last delivery was like. Let me tell you, they ran out of slots. I was never able to get a slot again. But back in the olden days when you could get a slot in the beginning of March, I went online and ordered all this stuff, and I got these ready-made meals, but I also got meals that came in these enormous boxes. And Jordan, I knew the minute that big honking box came in, I'm like, God damn, I'm really gonna have to cook this. Yeah, thank God. But the very first thing I made came with, God bless Fresh Direct. It came in a big box, but with all these fresh ingredients and the actual recipe. And the first thing I made, and you can see this, it's in episode 1, 2, and 3, spatchcock chicken. What the hell is that?
That's what I say. Because you're talking to somebody, like, I don't think I've been properly grocery shopping since like Obama's first term. Like, I don't cook, I don't do anything. So what is that?
Exactly, because our lives are like that, and we're very out there people in terms of, we're gregarious, we're extroverted, we love meeting people. Being in a kitchen for someone like me is just, I'd much rather be at a fancy restaurant or even a crummy restaurant with friends, having wine. And, I'm like very European that way. I should be living in Europe, right? With like 2-hour lunches outside in Italy under grapevines and having wine and just, like manja and the sunlight. Okay, but now I'm sequestered in a tiny kitchen in New York, and I have to make the most of it. And I am proud to say we've shot 30 episodes. The most recent, and each episode I notice when I look at them, I'm definitely more and more out there. People are like, how are you doing this, Wendy? And I go, oh, this is the best part. So many people got sick in New York, really sick. And they write to me and they say, it is a highlight of my day. I'm so depressed. I love going on and seeing you doing this. They get that it's comedy. And
yeah.
Right, and it totally lightens them up. So I notice, me personally, in my coping mechanism, Jordan, right, because that's how I'm getting through, I'm getting more and more out there. My most recent episodes, of course, I'm flying on Pandemic Airlines. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Pandemic Airlines, and I'm in a flight attendant's outfit. And because Pandemic Airlines doesn't have a budget, they force their flight attendants to go to Ricky's the day after Halloween and buy our costume. and I thought, okay, so where would I like to go? And what do I want to cook? And these Greek recipes kept coming up, and I'm like, yeah, I would love to go to Greece. I've never been there. And I was looking through like Condé Nast Traveler, that I think the title of that magazine was, Being in the New World. I don't even know how I don't even want to wrap my head around the new world. Okay, let's just say it. It sucks. Okay. Yeah. I'm part of that new world, but their magazine did inspire me in my, fantasy world. I'll go to Greece and I'll make 2 Greek dishes. And the food, this is the best part, Jordan. People are trying the recipes.
That's one. You're getting feedback on them and all that jazz?
I not only get feedback on them, it's like, oh, I did a truffle encrusted chicken. Oh, this is the best story. So I had my friend Jed come on right before the mandatory mask thing happened. Jed was a nurse, and my husband's a senior, and I was concerned about Alan, and I actually really did have reason to be, because that'll get to my next story, but I want to tell you this one first. So Jed the nurse comes, and he is so handsome, and I know him from the club scene and from being a burlesque star. But Jed's day job is he's on the front lines, and he's an amazing emergency nurse. I mean, this is what I love, right, about people, incredible nurse on the front lines by day, stripper by night. And of course, they're friends of mine. And he came over to check on Alan, and I said, do you want to try and shoot a segment? Well, when Jed came over with this amazing recipe that we cooked together, it's truffle potato chip encrusted chicken, where you take chicken and you put it in mayonnaise and truffle oil. That goes in the bag. You put that, listen, I know how to do this now. You put the chicken in there, you squish it all up. You knead it. Jed calls it kneading. You knead it, right? And you get the chicken covered. Then you take your chicken leg out. You can do it with breasts or legs or whatever part of the chicken. And then you put your chicken in a truffle potato chip bag and you crunch those chips and you shake it. It's a good way to get out your hostility and aggression. Because I don't mind, listen, Jordan, I've known you for a bit. I don't mind telling you, I really have that. I had a bad breakup with one of my gay husbands right before all this happened. So I'm pissed. And I'm taking all that aggression out on those chips. And I'm coating that chicken. And then you put it in the oven for 40 minutes at 450. You know, aren't you impressed I'm doing this all from memory?
I'm speechless, actually.
Look at this. Right. And I cook it, and then we put vegetables in that we had actually chopped, and we put truffle on. We drizzled, love that word, drizzled the vegetables. Those went in, and those were in for 40 minutes. And you could probably, Jed told me you could put everything in at one time, but you know, I was shooting, so I broke it up, right? So I'd have segments. And so delicious, you can't imagine. Well, there is a guy named a chef, Joe Zazo, that's spelled Z-A-S-O, Zazo. And he came out, he's on his 7th cookbook called Cafe Himbo, and this is quarantine cooking. And it's specifically for this. And I have to tell you, he called me up and he said, I want you to be in my cookbook. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so flattered. I mean, how amazing is that? When you hear who I'm in the cookbook with, Michael Musto is one of the people that's in the cookbook with me.
Yeah.
My dad crosses with Michael a lot these days, which karmically, it's just so funny, you know, how things work out. I love him. Brilliant, brilliant writer and a very funny guy. So he's got a recipe in there. One of the girls that starred in The Exorcist has got, because Joe, the chef, his background is actually horror movies. And
okay.
I guess was a cafe in one of the horror movies. So yeah, this is an ebook and it is coming out May 15th. And I was so excited. He reached out to me. So it's called Nurse Jed's Potato Chip Truffle Encrusted Chicken. And you can read about the backstory in there. And then of course you can make it. Are you going to try it, Jordan?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cook it myself, but I'm going to have someone cook it for me.
You're staying with people, so you got one of them.
Exactly.
There are some people that cook out there. They actually enjoy it.
I never understood it, but are you becoming is that becoming your thing? Like, do you cook every night now for the fam?
No, I will never cook for the family, but I will cook for TV. Because here's I am a performer, and everything I do, it's just kind of out there. And you know what I love? It's not an ego thing. I love that people, you know, we're in a really awful time. This is probably the worst thing on the face of the earth. And I went through the AIDS epidemic. I lost 3 phone books. But the thing about this killer, this is the silent killer. All right.
Yeah.
It takes people away in 36 hours. People that you can't, I'm sorry, there's never been anything like that except the Spanish flu. You know, in the AIDS epidemic, I could wrap my head around doctors who were in that time inventing the cocktails. I was able to keep people I knew off of ACT that are still alive. So there were tangibles then. And there were people working on things. And then we started practicing safe sex, so we knew that there were ways to prevent things. This thing, Jordan, we got no take on this. And now, so I'm going to get back to like the piece de resistance about me and the cooking show. So right, I can't cook. I'm still, and now I've learned how to cook, and I will cook for television. I do love it. I know I'm entertaining people. That makes me feel good. Number one, and I know people are trying the recipes. My family doesn't really care. My husband wants to order in no matter what. He eats the same damn thing every night from this restaurant, Mia. He orders 2 sides of meatballs and penne every night for 6 weeks. Not vegetable, not one green vegetable to be found. But so this is what happens to me. I start this show, I don't know, squat about cooking. And then what is the worst thing that can happen to a girl who can't cook? She gets the COVID virus, doesn't know that she has it, and loses her sense of smell and taste. You have to stay with me on this one. You know what? It's so typically me, and it really is funny. But as my daughter pointed out to me, the show must go on. So I'm running 99 fever, and I'm sitting in the corner of the couch getting ready to shoot. I can't smell. I can't taste. My head was completely stuffed up. I didn't know I had COVID because I called the doctor, and he tells me, I give him my symptoms, and he said, oh, that's a sinus infection. I'm sending over a CPAP. I said, but my husband has that symptom, and so does my daughter. My husband's symptoms were everything tastes like wood. And he didn't mean my cooking.
It was the same.
No, it was the food he was getting from you know, I like, you like that place. Why are you saying it tastes like wood? I didn't know why he was saying that. It was really pissing me off. I'm like, listen, if COVID doesn't get him, I'm going to kill him because there's no satisfying this man. And then my daughter says to me, you know, Mom, I can't taste anything, and I can't smell, and I'm really stopped up in the head. We were like that for like 3 days, and then we got this weird headache. So I called, my husband's got an amazing doctor. You know, I had regular like New York State health care. My husband has a concierge doctor because of his age bracket, and he's on Medicare, great doctor. I call his doctor up, and I speak to them and give them my symptoms, and they're like, you have to quarantine, you've got COVID. So there I am. I'm like, but you know what? I'm quarantined and I can shoot this in my house. I just can't have anybody on, you know, to help me.
That's or anything like that.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm sitting here, I'm getting made up for my segment. I put my lashes on. I have my wig on. My daughter comes in and she says, oh my God. She said, there's nothing that stops you. And there is nothing that stops me. That's right. I knew, you know, listen, the show's got to go on. You're a performer. You know that.
Absolutely.
Are you going to call in sick or tell your audience, I'm sorry, I wasn't feeling well tonight? I mean, Madonna, you know, can do that. And Madge will, listen, Madge will even tell you, it's got to be really bad. She's got to have a major accident where she can't be on stage. Because, you know, when you do whatever you have to do. And, you know, I'm lucky and you're lucky. We've got those like gregarious personalities, and it wasn't hard for me at all. The whole time I'm thinking, you know what, I'm really going to give them a great show because that's what they want, and I want to make people laugh.
Yeah. How often do the episodes released?
Every day. Well, I was releasing them every day, and what I was finding between that and then now I'm getting written up. I'm on podcast radio shows, and I've got so much PR being put up on Facebook out there by various people that I'm coming up in everybody's feed all the time, and that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Because I want them to actually watch my episode, and my episodes are short. The longest one I think was 4 minutes. Most of the time they're like 2 minutes, 30 seconds. They're there strictly to entertain you. So now I've been releasing them every other day. And I think that is a good choice because I notice all the episodes are still getting traction. So I've got so much out there. And also like with the Facebook algorithms, it's hard to figure it out how to release things.
Totally.
The one thing I did do, I got, we do them on Final Cut Pro, but now they're put up on Vimeo because my amazing PR person, Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Starr, they told me, Jimmy in particular, said, you need this on YouTube. I want people to subscribe. Hear that, people? You need to subscribe. Right. Prescribe or subscribe. Wendy Stuart TV. My shows are up there. And then now I've added in, I'm adding in, I've done a ton of work like you have, and I have other YouTube channels, but this is going to be my beautiful, stellar YouTube channel. Jimmy Starr, who has his own podcast, he has put together a whole lineup for me. He's got all my things organized, and now we're moving into the other areas where we're going to have our lists, which are podcasts, interviews, my live performances. Right before all this came down, I did a brilliant performance at Stonewall.
Mm-hmm.
The subject was unrequited love, and it was about, mine was unrequited love with gay men, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I got there and I read all the kiss off letters except for one. One was a nice letter, but all the other ones, and the ugliest letter, of course, was called ghosted. Jordan, have you ever been ghosted by anyone?
I have, and it's not fun.
It's
And
not.
I think it's a bit of it's karmic too, because I have been known to ghost once or twice in my lifetime as
Really?
well. It's not a good thing. It's not a habit, but it's not a good thing. So I think me being karmic retribution.
There is karmic retribution. Okay, so if someone is totally horrific, to me, you've got, I know I'm sounding judgmental, but you have every right to ghost them. Okay, but this ex-gay husband, right? I helped his career. We were performing together. And believe me, girl, I knew he was riding on my coattails, but I'm like, okay, we'll continue to produce together. And I ended up, of course, walking away with everything. And he was pissed. Get over it. You know what I'm saying? Just get over it. Disappears for a month. Nobody does that to me. All right. All right. So you know what? That resulted in, I took all of the nasty texts he sent me the night of the Glam Awards about all the horrible things that I am, and I made it into a show, and it's called Ghosted. So I talk about all his comments, and then I make comments about them. It's really funny. So if you're feeling really dishy, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Wendy Stuart TV on YouTube. You can see Pandemic Cooking, and you can see my live performances at the Stonewaller on there too. So yeah, let's do that.
That's exciting. Well, so speaking of Stonewall, I know you've been a friend and an ally of the LGBT community for a very, 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 very long time. Absolutely. So talk to me about that. Because I know you came to New York a while ago. Like, did you just kind of fall into the gay community? Or where are you from originally, actually?
So I'm originally, and you have to get my book. It's called She's the Last Model Standing on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon. The thing about that, Jordan, is I was born in the Bronx. But from the time, and anyone who knows me, people ask me this all the time, especially like you know me. But I meet people, that are big players in the LGBT community, and they're like, you're amazing, but who are you? Where did you come from? I've been in this community, no kidding, from the time I was in third grade. I always felt like an outcast. I was just different. I remember at 4 years old putting on makeup and wigs and butterfly wings. I always wanted to be a princess and a butterfly, and that was all I ever wanted to do, and dress up, dress up, dress up. So I attracted people that had that kind of creativity. And a number of them early on in the game were guys that turned out to be gay. They were my two best friends in third grade. And then by junior high, they were on their way out, coming out. And then it just continued for me. And when I got out of college, of course, I came to New York and started hanging out at Studio 54. And like every actress in those days, we had to have an answering service. My answering service was callback, but I called it call boy. Call boy, because there were all these adorable young boys that were all gay on there, and they became like my posse. And again, this is all in my book. And we hung out together, we played together. And in terms, people say, what was dating like for you? Honestly, not great. Not great. And again, this is in my book. My boyfriend at the time, who was really amazing, we had a place in the Fire Island Pines, and that was great. So that made having that relationship doable for me. But I really was, at the end of the day, I just always wanted to hang out with the boys and the drag queens. And back in those days, there were not a ton of trans people. I mean, and if there were, we know there probably were, they weren't out as trans in those days.
Right.
So my big political move started when this disease called GRID came to the surface, all right? Gay-related infectious disease. And I was in the Fire Island Pines, and I remember there was a small organization that had a table out there, which went on to become our biggest gay organization, and as well as ACT UP, right? Nobody really knew. ACT UP was just coming on the scene then. But there was horrible disease, and one of the first people to die was the Marlboro Man. My husband being a photographer, he knew, people that we knew. My husband's makeup artist, all right? And these were our friends. Now, Alan and I weren't married then, but we were friends and we were immersed in the gay scene. Our friends are beautiful, talented. I always said the first round they took, and you know this, they took the best of the best, you know, the most talented. How could such, I say this about COVID, how could such a thing have happened? AIDS for me was like, how could such a thing have happened? And I felt like so many of us did, impotent. We watched our friends die and we went to memorials. So it was when my husband's best friend, who was I was probably 29 at the time, his best friend, Munning Obregon, was a very famous illustrator. Munning lived with us, and Munning passed away on the couch. And his family was nowhere to be found. And we were able to get an autopsy done. And I knew what it was. But I said after it came back, acquired immune deficiency, we said that's it. We hooked up with an organization that we had heard about, Powers, Pet Owners with AIDS Resource Service. What could be better than taking care of the pets of anyone that had HIV or AIDS? And the two guys, and I love telling people the story, the two guys that ran it, Steve Cohn and Howard Greenberg, not only were they not HIV positive, not only did they, at the time, not even know anyone, believe it or not. They were just two guys that had heard about this, and they're like, this is so terrible. They started a grassroots organization on their dining room table. I mean, these are people with true heart and smarts and selfless, right? And they loved animals, and they saw the need in the LGBTQ community because everyone was on ACT at the time, and they would get sick and have to go into the hospital. Well, who's going to take care of their pet? Also, their partners were dying. All they had left was the dog or the cat. So Alan and I jumped in with both feet. At the time, we had a really big loft. And you know me, social butterfly, great at fundraising. I'm like, let's just do fundraisers. And we'll not only invite our clients, we'll invite our people that are, you know, willing to give money. So I would give these parties. It was so fulfilling, right, to be able to do this. And we did it for as long as the virus couldn't be conquered. And then, of course, there were the doctors in the early stages, those Dallas Buyer Club, everybody's seen that movie. A lot of my younger friends don't know anything about that. Those drugs, a number of them were started by Dr. Joseph Sonnabend, who was a friend at the time, and my doctor. And then there was Larry Higgins, another one. They were using drugs that no one else was using because both of those doctors knew that ACT, it killed people. It killed everyone who was on it. Once we were able to get the cocktails out there, eventually there was no more need for Powers, Pet Owners with AIDS Resource Service. And that was a good thing, you know, and Alan and I, you know, all right, we were glad about that. And then probably like mid-90s, we had our daughter, and then we roll into, you know, 2001. 9/11 happens, and I flip. That was like, and so much came back to me because there I was back at St. Vincent's, going down there to think, oh my God, we're going to be able to give blood. All right, just like back in the days of AIDS, all the people I knew that died there. There I am again for a tragedy, and there was somebody to give blood to. So we, shortly after that, decided we needed a second place, a safe place. And the Fire Island Pines wasn't a year-round place, but it's a place called Milford, Pennsylvania, that we knew had a big LGBTQ community. Sean Strube, who was one of the original people, that he wrote the book Body Counts, but more than that, big political player back in the day, one of the biggest survivors of AIDS, surviving, flourishing, and he was developing that town. And I knew he was there. And I thought this could be a good place to go out to. We go out there, and then 8 years ago, someone came to us along with some other people that wanted to start an LGBTQ there. And this is what I'm very proud of. I've been with our organization, which is now called Triversity. I came up with the name. It services the tri-state area. The organization started by Patty Tomaszewski, later run by Chris Jarman and Carrie Jackalone. And now my fabulous executive director. In between, Cindy Stein was our executive director. Now we have my amazing director, Stephen Bloomer Teague, who I met when he first moved to Milford. And he doesn't know this. He would kill me, but I had him singled out. I'm like, he's going to be that's what I do, right? I have like a honing device for amazing people. I'm so proud of our organization. 8 years, I'm still on the board. And you know what, Jordan? This is what I do. I don't write grants. All right, I'm not that. I will never be that. I'm a person that will hand out literature at a table. I'm good at that because I can talk to people, and I give fundraisers and parties. And my event that I give once a month is called First Friday, and it's to bring the whole community together, including the people that are our allies. You know, we all need to support each other. And in particular, out there, we have a huge trans community, which we've got a good support system. Although the situation with trans, it's a tough one to anchor, because I was trying to put together workshops. And what happens often in the trans community, once a person transitions, they go to where they're going to be most comfortable. They don't want to be, you know, part. Right, a label, and I totally get that. But my organization is there for everybody, and I can proudly say that. And we've been doing like virtual First Fridays online with Zoom, and we had done a gorgeous talent show the end of February that was live, amazing. I hosted it with Stephen Bloomer Teague. We did that Cher number, like I was Cher, he was Sunny. We did that song on Babe, but he wasn't Sunny, he was Cher too. And it was two Chers. And I had such a good time coming in, and we raised money, and we had wonderful performers. I'm not just saying that. The level of talent was great. And now we just did that show online on Zoom. But for me, I got to tell you, you know, I'm pushing it with Zoom. I'm happy to have it. I told you that. It's great that you and I are here today. But I can't live like this forever. I can't.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because even, you know, once the world does open up, you know, I think people will have gotten so used to not having to get dressed and not having to that the idea of like leaving your house and going into the studio might be like, oh, do I?
Hey, Jordan, I am dressed. I got all purdied up for you. And if you look at any of the things that I'm hosting on Zoom, Saturday night I co-host with Ike Avelli, the comedian. He does 50 Shades of Gay, and the show we do on Saturday night is Ike Avelli's Bedroom, and we have drag performers. It's a very LGBTQ show. We've had Tim Moss on, we've had Margot Channing, we have like 5 to 7 performers on, and then of course a lot of people watch it that know Ike. And I am a different character every week on that show. Last night I was a beauty pageant contestant, because not only am I co-hosting, I read from my book. I always read a chapter from my book. So She's the Last Model Standing, and I read the chapter on bogus beauty pageants. I was totally in character, completely made up, lashes, hairpiece, outfit, everything I do on Zoom. No, including today. I was out in the park before I saw you. I wasn't coming in my freaking sweats. I'm on Zoom. I'm living large. I'm on Zoom. And look behind me. I have posters of my wonderful, dearly departed friend, Sweetie, who was so well known in the drag community, a brilliant performer, one of the best lip syncers ever, left us too soon 3 years ago. But you know what? My friend Sweetie was behind a lot of my performing, and I feel when I'm out there, I'm channeling Sweetie too. So yeah, there. I dress up, honey. I'm
I love it. Well, so the moment that this is all done, what's the first project that you want to do when you're not homebound?
So everybody always asks me that. So January 24th, I gave a huge production. It was called The Extravaganza. And the first part of it started out with a show that we were doing called Reading for Filth that my friend Hattie Hathaway developed. And that show had people doing readings. We've had Michael Musto do readings, Penny Arcade do readings, any kind of reading that you want, right? And that's how the evening opened. But that was just the warm up. We did 2 huge shows with well-known performers that night in Club Bedlam in New York, one of Daniel Nardicchio's clubs. He owns Club Comic. That was too small. Bedlam has 200 people. It can hold 200. I had 300 there. That's right. And they were still coming through the door. And Corey Craig was the DJ. We put on 2 amazing shows that night. I ended up being the MC for everything. That wasn't the original plan. My host, Nick Lyon and I produced all the performers. Nick actually got the performers. Everyone knows and loves Nick. He's a producer. And 3 weeks before we did this event, Nick and I were out at every gay event you can imagine. But this is the brilliance, Jordan. We went to every kind of event. So we got Brooklyn Club Kids. We got them to come. We got Imperial Court to come. We got like industry bar people to come. We went to Indochine. You know, we went to an gay event at Indochine. And like we were, I had cards made up or whatever. We bought people drinks. Listen, it was marketing, right? Investment on our night. And they all came. And the extravaganza was in honor of my birthday. So Nick Lyon and I really, really turned it out. The other host was supposed to be the ex-gay husband, but let's just say that's why he's the ex-gay husband. He did such a great job that night. And going forward, Nick and I are going to be doing another extravaganza. We're just waiting, okay, to get that red light. So maybe it's going to be September. We have to make sure it's when we can safely, right? We have to be safe. Bring everybody into this. So that would be my next big event. However, while all this is going on, I totally left this out. I've been filming with my husband, Alan, for a year, a film called Working Dogs, a love story about therapy and service dogs. We started the project a year ago, and we have dogs that work with people that have no sight, dogs that work with people that have epilepsy or cancer. The dog can smell when you need to take your medication. I mean, this is incredible. Dogs that children that are having a hard time reading, dogs that you can read to. I want to show how valuable these dogs are in our society and how we need to have them and really raise them up, right, Jordan, in our society. So while all this is going on, while I'm filming Pandemic Cooking, while I'm doing radio, podcasts, you name it, while all this is going on, we hired an editor to do Working Dogs, a love story that my husband's working very closely with. So we plan on turning it out. Our last film, called Whispers and Witnesses, Primate Rescue in Cameroon, was shot on location in Africa. We're members of the Explorers Club. There's only 3,400 people in the world. We do very unique projects, which qualified us to become members. I met 2 women at the Explorers Club that were rescuing gorillas and chimpanzees in Cameroon from poachers. These are like, listen, anyone can live their life the way they want to. What would make somebody choose to, right? They're putting themselves in danger. It is their passion and their love for primates, for gorillas, for chimpanzees, for monkeys. And I thought, I'm going to go there and do a documentary on them. And I swear to you, this is a true story. I heard both of them speak, and then I got their email addresses. I got home. And I call up United Airlines and I said, I want to go over Christmas to Cameroon. I picked Christmas because I'm not so booked then. And I said, what flyer miles do I need? And there was a pause at the other end of the phone. And she said, well, we happen to have seats for Cameroon over Christmas. That should have been my first red flag. Why do they have seats? And it was something ridiculous. It was 35,000 miles as opposed to 155. 35 each. And I'm like, great, I'll take those tickets. So I booked 10 days there. Then I emailed both these women.
Good to be true.
Oh my God. I emailed both these women who barely knew me because it was just in the audience that night. And I reintroduced myself. And then I remembered me asking questions and talking to them. I said, I'm coming to do a film about you. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, I booked to come to Cameroon and it seems I need a letter from the government. There. Because as I found out, everyone was telling me no tourist infrastructure. Well, what does that mean? Right. Well, I come to find out I had to have a reason to be working there. So once they both got past, one person, Dr. Sherry Speed, runs Sanaga Young Primate Rescue, and the other one, Rachel Honig, is from Ape Action Africa. They're both doing amazing work. Once they realized that I was serious, they still had no idea what the hell I was doing. I wasn't affiliated with any kind of organization. I do this on my own. They said, we'll write you the letter and we'll arrange for you to stay. But I never thought to ask what accommodations were going to be. And again, that word, no tourist infrastructure.
No.
So yeah, so I arrive in Cameroon. with Alan after we switched planes in Ethiopia because we love Ethiopia anyway. I've shot there, films about indigenous people, and we met or someone that gets us into the tribal areas there. We met with him overnight, so it was really pleasant. Next day we go to Cameroon. It's like a couple of hours flight, right? We land in the airport there, and you know, I don't know what I was expecting, but you know, you're thinking, okay, someone's going to have your name on the sign. Well, yeah, somebody did have the name on the sign. This 6'5" soldier, like in full soldier garb, like just looking very like confused, waiting for these two people that I don't have to tell you, stuck out like a sore thumb. Right? On the sign. Oh, and the best part, the way I travel with Alan, we didn't have a chance to hire anyone, and it's expensive, so we try and get one or two local people. But getting all that equipment from New York to Ethiopia, then Ethiopia to Cameroon, one of the things we do, because of Alan's age, we are able to get a wheelchair. So we put Alan in the chair with the camera equipment. It's freaking genius, right? It's like a trolley, and you know, they're usually very helpful in the airport. We come wheeling out, and this guy just took one look at us, right? I mean, I am as blonde can be. I'm there with this guy in a wheelchair with camera equipment, like up to here. And he looked at me. I'm sure he thought, what did I get myself into? Beautiful soldier. And he says, my name is Kennedy. My English not so good. And I looked at him like 6'5", 6'6". I mean, stunning, Jordan. He was probably one of the most beautiful men I have ever seen. And I said to my husband, I said, please tell him he doesn't need to talk. I just want to look at him. My daughter hates I say that. She says, how could you objectify somebody like that? Because you know
like,
what?
You weren't there.
Right. He was so stunning and just so, you know, huge gun, right? He's a soldier. So polite. Takes us to a truck, and he said, I speak some English, but no good. And so I said, je parle français un petit peu. I speak a little French, and I said in French to him, I need to go get water, bottled water. And he said, everyone there, so helpful, so smart. And most of the people there, honestly, you know, especially soldiers, barely like, you know, 7th or 8th grade education. So nice, so smart, so helpful. Takes me to a big supermarket, escorts me in there. There's a big pile. The water was all packaged. And showed me with, you know, you want it to be packaged because the water you buy on the side of the road, you know, they've emptied it out and put in the local water. You're going to die if you drink that. So we filled up the back of this truck with all of this bottled water. And you know what? I'm very savvy about traveling in these places. I got enough for 10 days. I knew I would be drinking in it. I knew I would bathe in it. I knew I would wash my hair in it. And all I can tell you is thank God I had it, because as the words no tourist infrastructure started to become clear, oh my God.
That should be the title of your next memoir.
Oh, yeah, I love that. You know what? And that can include all of these places that I've been. It's like people are like, what the heck are you doing here? But here's the thing. I don't have a filter, which is very obvious. It's like, I can walk into a leather bar and nobody pays it any mind. They just want to talk to me, and everyone is so unbelievably friendly. I don't have a filter, and I don't feel like self-conscious or different from anybody there. And when I travel in the world, right? You know, we were shooting with the Mercy people. Those are the people with the clay plates. And I was told, you're not going to be able to make a film with those people. They're hostile. They're drunk half the time. They don't like outsiders. I know some really amazing photographers that had stones thrown at them. And again, I have my great translator, Gara in Ethiopia. He knows the tribal areas. He's from there. Gara not only got us down there, and Gara told us, you may not be able to shoot. But you know what? We came in really, really low key, didn't start pointing cameras at people. I just went over, the women were like looking at me, and I smiled. You see that infectious smile that you have, Jordan? That smile, you can go anywhere in the world with a smile like that, because at the end of the day, it's the eyes and the smile. You don't need the language. And that's what I did. I came in there and I hung out with the mothers and their kids climbing all over me. And I thought, this is unfreaking real. They were flipping their clay plates out of their mouth for me to look at, and they wanted me to hold it up to my face, and then they would bust out laughing. Like it was a funny thing. And their lips, of course, would hang way down because that's what they thought it was so funny. And I would put it under my chin and everybody would start laughing. And that really broke the ice. We were not, first of all, not only able to take pictures, but I had arranged with the chief of that village later that he would get $100 for the village, and the people that were there would each get $20 that spent time with us and allowed us to shoot. I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And you can't get more of a different culture. They're completely painted, completely adorned, and they are like that every day of their life, which is so amazing. And the political part of it, what is happening to those people in that part of the world is tragic, which is why I wanted to tell the story. This wasn't about, Wendy going down there and meeting them. It turned out to be a story about the river that they live on is being taken over by hydroelectric dam that was put in by the Chinese and the Italians with the Ethiopian government. And they're taking, there's probably like 22 to 26 different tribes there. They're moving them all closer and closer and closer together off of their ancestral lands. Okay, these people are on top of each other. And the thing we noticed when we got there, everybody had guns. And a lot of people said, weren't you afraid? No, they weren't going to, why would they shoot me? Okay, but they have those guns to protect themselves from neighboring tribal people, protect themselves from the government. They hate the government, right? And you really start to learn. So I originally went down there to make a film called Fragile Beauty. It was going to be about the gorgeousness of the people, and they were, and I have that in the film, but it ended up being about a whole other thing. And in order to do that as a human being, you have to be loose. You need no filter. You cannot be afraid. You can't be afraid of what people are going to think of you. And you have to have love in your heart, love in your expression. Believe me, they'll know that. That works universally anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. So now that wasn't the first film that you and your husband had made together, right?
Well, Fragile Beauty was the first one. And that was 22 minutes. And, again, it was about 3 tribes in Ethiopia. And it was the same thing as Whispers and Witnesses about the primates. Wendy got a cockamamie idea. And that cockamamie idea came from, I will tell you, our first very short films. And I think we were making these when I met you for the first time, like 6 or 7 years ago. 2 o'clock in the morning, just Googling, and stuff started coming up about, I've always been interested in traditional medicine. And you do know my book opens up in Nigeria in a village called Ife, where I went as a student to study the Yoruba people, particularly their belief in Shango, the god of thunder. Now, I can't tell you why this draws me, or what. My heart is definitely in Africa. What so fascinates me about traditional religion, I have seen things that are completely, that you could never explain, and I just, as a belief system, it does blow me away. So at 21 years old, there I was in a village called Ife. I went to State University of New York at Binghamton, and I applied. So I was majoring in anthropology and archaeology. Everyone was applying to programs in Israel and Egypt. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to get in any of those. I wasn't like a star student. So my boyfriend at the time, who was a filmmaker, who said, hey, I have a really cool idea. The Black Studies Department is going to Africa. They're going to Nigeria. He said, let's apply to that program. I'm like, well, what makes you think we're going to get in? He said, because everybody who's applying is from the Black Studies Department. Take the 2 of us. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool idea. I said, I would totally love that. And lo and behold, we not only got in, that was my game changer. Honestly, Jordan, everything I'm doing now, and I will tell anyone this, the trips I've made to Africa, any of the shootings I've done with indigenous people, even in South America, it all harkens back to that trip to that village called Ife in Nigeria, because there I was in this ramshackle town, tin roof, with every little cardboard shack, the stores, all selling the same thing, dirt roads, okay? And I would walk through the town. I had to learn Yoruba. So I took, at the university there, I took Yoruba classes. I had to learn to speak it. And I would walk through the town and they would yell out, Odabo Oibo. And I'm like, Odabo, I knew that meant hello. And Oibo, I thought, oh, nice girl or pretty blonde girl, whatever. It took me a while. I ended up making a best friend there. His name was Jide Abegunde. And Jide said to me, you know what Oibo is, Wendy? I'm like, no. He says, when you peel an orange, it's the white skin on an orange. Basically, they were saying, hello, white skin on an orange. The people were they were amazing. And this person, Jide Abegunde, I kid you not, every time I meet someone from Nigeria that's connected to Ife, and maybe this should be a book. It should be called Looking for Jide. He became my best friend and my boyfriend's best friend. And he was just an amazing person. A smile, an electric smile. Another one, I'm telling you about those electric smiles. Another one with an electric smile with eyes that just lit up. And he was completely enamored with American culture or culture that wasn't Nigeria. You remember that movie To Sir with Love?
Yes.
Sidney Poitier was in it, right? They had one movie theater in town and they showed that movie for 6 months. He had all the parts memorized, including the female part where she would say, sorry, sir. Every part memorized, and I adored him. But one of the things he did for me, my belief, he knew how much I was interested in traditional medicine, and he brought me to meet his grandfather, who was a traditional doctor in that area, Oyo State, a huge area, a man very well respected. And we got to go to festivals that unbelievable, where the BBC was actually making films, where there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people becoming taken over. I don't like using the word possessed. That's our perception of it. Let me just say the deity that they believe in taking over, the spirit taking over, and they become the spirit, picking up hot coals, putting it in their mouths, and yet after there's not a blister or anything. And it really, Jordan, opened up my mind. It made me say to myself, wow, this cannot be scientifically explained. So I've always known and still always believe there's parallel universes out there. And, I'm hoping additionally I'll get back to Africa again and tell more of those stories.
Yeah, I think you're probably one of the most fascinating people I have ever met. And I think what makes you so wonderful is that you're so multifaceted, but you're just a very open person, right? Like you just keep your eyes open, and you're a person of yes. Like, I love to, yes. And I think that
it is. It is, yes. Always it's the curiosity factor. I am, even now, you and I have stayed in touch because it's like, oh, what's Jordan doing? And, there were months, right, where we weren't connected and boom, you pop up. Of course you pop up because you and I are so similar in that way. That's what we do. We pop up. And now I'm learning that the pop-up is coming full circle. I've met so many incredible people that I knew about 20, 25 years ago, and boom, they're popping up now. Because guess what? My book's called my book is The Last Model Standing, but there should be something called We're the Ones Still Standing.
That's
right.
That's a wonderful place to stop. We were actually at the end of our time on Hot 702.5, but speaking of The Last Model Standing, I do want to learn a little bit more about your career as one of the world's foremost fit models. Still fit model and print model.
Yes,
I want to talk about that. So we're gonna sign off on the 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Thank you all for listening. Wendy and I are going to continue the conversation, and you can listen to the rest of it tomorrow on the Showtime at Jordan podcast. Again, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts at Showtime with Jordan, and also on YouTube. Before we sign off, tell us again where our listeners can find you on the World Wide Webs.
Oh my God, all of my handles. So on YouTube, it's Wendy Stuart TV, all my pandemic cooking and some of my other work. Then there's my website, www.wendystuarttv. See, that's all easy. You can friend me on Facebook. I'm there, I'm open, I'm there for you. Wendy Stuart, Stuart. Also on Facebook, a page for my book, She's the Last Model Standing. That's also on Instagram. She's the Last Model Standing. My Twitter handle, She's the Last Model Standing, STANG. And let us not forget our films, Visual Journeys, Our Stories on Facebook. And I think that, oh God, that's an awful list. Oh my, available on Amazon. She's the Last Model Standing. There we go. Thank you. Love you, Jordan. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening to another week of Showtime with Jordan von Haslow and friends. Be sure to follow us at Showtime with Jordan on Facebook and Instagram. And thank you for listening to us on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Martini Mondays is next. Bye. And we continue.
I just want to jump through the screen and give you a virtual hug.
I love that you have all those memorized. All of your handles.
I'm on them. So this is what my life has turned into to promote who and what I am. You know, Jimmy Star and Eileen Shapiro, they're amazing. The minute anything comes in, they've got it out. I mean, everywhere, every platform you could possibly think of. And then, of course, on my end, you know, I'm on social media. So, boom, whatever I get, I do like the whole social media end of things. I got to tell you, it's a lot of time. And my husband makes fun of me. Where is my little phone anyway? It was right here. But here we go. Here's Wendy's little phone. And I tell you, this is like my lifeline, you know? And I would say the one I'm the laziest about is Instagram. Because, and I have the most followers on that, but I'm lazy about it because as my venue, I don't know. I can do Instagram Live if I want to, but I'm already all over Facebook with video and now on YouTube. So at what point do you say to yourself, Jordan, that you're spending like 4 hours a day trying to keep yourself out there? It starts to become a little crazy.
Well, it's really tough. Like it's funny. I've been having conversations with folks who I've been chatting with on this show about that, because I need to get my social game up really badly. But it's work. Like, it's a full-time job just doing that. I mean, you know, and especially, you know, figuring out and creating new content that's specific for that, you know, that particular audience responds to. It's like you're almost like a one-person studio. Doing the developing, doing the marketing, it's a lot. It's a lot. Doing the distribution. Yeah, it's tough. But you sound like you have a really nice, good team now that's really helping you kind of.
Eileen and Jimmy are amazing, okay? My model agencies are good, but for someone like me, I need people that are completely off on what I can do. Like you said, oh my God, you do this, you do that. My PR people totally get that. In the model agency world, I think I'm one of a bunch of girls. And yes, there's girls prettier, younger, blah, blah, blah. But there's not girls that are as unique as me that can be, you know, look at all the platforms I can work on. I can be a spokesperson. I can be a brand ambassador. You know, I can sell makeup. I can sell a line of clothing. And I feel like the model agencies don't position me in that way. Yes, right. I have my clients and all of that, but I feel as I'm very underserved in that way. And now, you know, performing, I do a lot of stuff. I absolutely do. But I really need a much bigger platform. And that's honestly what I'm going for. And I will get it because I won't stop. And you know it.
But speaking of the modeling, how did you become a fit model? Not for nothing. When we first met and you told me you were a fit model, I kind of turned around and Google, like, what the hell's a fit model? Like,
you know what? I love you. We are similar. You're curious. You're like, most people just shake their head yes and, you know, just try and process it. You Googled it. So through modeling all of these years, remember, I have 45-year career. That's a very long, I think there's me and Carmen. Right? And she's a big fashion model. I was never a cover girl. I was always, Alan and I kid about this. People would book me because they couldn't get Lassie. We always made a joke about that. I also ran the second choice, the one on hold. But if you read my book, I was the girl turned down by every model agency, didn't have a shot in hell. And the reason I bring this up is my book is about inspiration. It's about not stopping even when everybody tells you no, because you think in your delusional mind that you're going to do this. And look what happened. I did, I have done everything in modeling, still do it, but fit modeling turned out to be a very lucrative niche in that it's the regular modeling rates, all right? And it wasn't just modeling. I don't know why they call it modeling, because it's not that. I have to work with pattern makers. I work with technical designers, and I work with designers. I have to take their sketch, all right, and bring that sketch to life in that they have the first garment they make that goes on a 14-year-old girl on a runway who's a size 2. How do I take that concept and get it to fit a woman who's in her mid to late 40s, size 10, and when she puts that garment on, she has to look as beautiful and feel as beautiful as that 14-year-old so that that garment sells. Ah, that's a skill.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the process?
So the process of it is the designer will design the first sample, and then I will get that first sample and I'll put it on. And, you know, everything's wrong with it, right? I can't lift my arms because it's too tight under the arms, or the sleeves are too tight, or it's the neckline's too high or too low. I put it on, and then the designer will be there, the technical designer will be there, or a pattern maker, and I have to tell them how to make this thing fit. I have to tell them the armhole's up in my armpit, lower it ½ inch. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, how do you know to lower it ½ inch? Because I understand fabric. I understand how fabric moves. I understand where that armhole, look, I'm showing you my arm. I understand that armhole's got to go nicely under my arm, so that when I go to raise my arm, I have movement, that I don't look like I'm in a straitjacket. Like, let's take it for example. I'm going to turn it back to you. You know, your neckline and your tank top that you have on there, you comfortable in it?
Very much so.
Yeah, it looks really comfortable. Now, what about the shirt or the hoodie that you have over it?
The hoodie thing, yeah, that's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, okay, you like that. So that made you buy that garment. And I don't know who the designer is on it, but chances are, you know, you can move in that garment. You like that garment. When you wear it, you feel good. You're going to go back and buy more things by that company or that designer.
Absolutely.
And, right, and that's what I'm to do. I have to really make their stuff sell. So, you know, if I work with a company, Eileen Fisher's one of my companies. I have a lot of smaller licensees that I work with. Most recently, I'm working with Rainforest, which is outerwear. If those things get in the store and they sell, right, it's a good thing for this company. Now, here's the challenge. You're probably thinking to yourself, Wendy, what's going on with this during the pandemic? So I've got some smart clients that were able to send samples to my house. And the samples told me what those garments measured, right? Because they had gotten them measured out. And I can look at the measurements on a sheet and know if that armhole's too high. And then I put it on and I go just like I thought. And I have my husband take a picture of it, and I email that picture to them. And then when I'm done trying on those clothes get UPS back to them, right? So they have all my comments, and they now can get that sample made in China or domestically, wherever they want. So they have their information, so that once again, when it comes out in mass production, it was based on what I had to say. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is virtually. I can work with a designer. Say you were a designer right now, and I could say, oh, Jordan, you know, the neckline on this is too low. All my stuff is too low. That's how I But, you know, let's just say you have a middle American client, you know, she's a little conservative. You know, you don't want her cleavage hanging out. So I'm going to tell you, you need to raise it up by 2 inches, right? Just like I'm showing you here. You know, you and I virtually together. You're taking notes on everything that I say. And then you're going to send all those notes to your factory in China or here. And then they're going to, you know, make the clothing from that. Okay, that's another way. Then the third way, you know, I had one client during the pandemic that was okay if we were both masked and 6 feet apart, being in a space with me where she could look at the garment, take pictures from the other side of the room, and hear from me in person with my mask on yelling what needed to be fixed on the garment. And that's how she worked during the pandemic. So it's really, really interesting.
It's really interesting, and it's really, I think, kind of a sucky job title. Like, it's a misnomer, really, because I mean, you're
totally, I don't know, it's so stupid. Like, fit model. I mean, really, I'm like, why don't we call it living mannequin?
Right.
I'm a a living, breathing mannequin, you know, because so there's companies right now putting these clothes, they're not working with me or anyone that does what I do. They're putting the clothes on the mannequin and they're going to manufacture those clothes from the mannequin and hope for the best. All right.
Oh, wow.
Because that's one way of doing it. Lots of luck. I'm here to tell you and your audience out there, I am a size 8. I am a middle American size 8. I can tell from my own body measurements this clothing needs to fit so that when you make a size 10 or a 12 or a 14, it's going to fit your customer. Or if you make it a smaller size, it's going to fit your customer. That's what I do. And I can only do that because I have the experience of knowing how to fit clothing, what the fabric is going to drape like, if that fabric's going to move, you know, and how your customer is going to feel in it. Again, people will buy clothing if it makes them feel good.
Feel good, right? That's the whole point of it. I mean, aside from the utilitarian nature, like that's the whole point.
Right. You know, makes you feel good, because if you feel good, you're going to think you're looking hot. Like I know, Jordan, you're thinking how hot you are. And you put tank on there. With gray and white stripes. But cool, you know, you're going to go out on, what is the main drag in Las Vegas? You're probably not near there, but that's the only one I know. The Strip. Jordan's going to be walking the Strip. Feeling fabulous, you know? But yeah, so that is what a fit model does, and it is an expertise. Unfortunately, I will tell you, it was not doing great in the last couple of years because retail's been terrible, and when clients cut back, unfortunately, that's a dumb place to cut back at. But they don't cut back at the overpaid executives; they cut back on the product. You know, we don't need a fit model. We'll put it on a mannequin, you know, all right, you know, it'll go into the store. Maybe the customer won't notice it doesn't sell. But what happens is their competition sometimes is putting it on a fit model, and they have successfully taken themselves out of the game. But you know what? You can't tell corporate. You absolutely can't.
What are your thoughts on that? I mean, like retail, right? Because I adore retail. I love a good department store. Like I love a good department store, and like people don't shop at brick and mortar anymore, right? Neiman's filed for bankruptcy. J. Crew just filed for bankruptcy. Is JCPenney filing, or did they close?
That's a bad drama. That saga's been going on
forever, right? Like,
and then there's some nonsense with Macy's that's been going on. And then, of course, don't forget the Lord and Taylor tragedy.
Oh, I love
it. So
everyone makes fun of me for loving Lord and Taylor because they're like, what do you make there? But I adored Lord and Taylor.
I know, but you know what? Every time you hear them filing for bankruptcy, you can say to yourself, a ton of people got laid off that needed their jobs. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of the time, the people at the top are still making those fat salaries.
Yeah.
I'm all for like a division of salary, and you know, let's get retail back in brick and mortar. And I don't, honest to God, with landlords charging, look, it's all connected, right, Jordan? It's a domino theory. The brick and mortar is costing a bloody fortune. So seriously, if I had a company, I really wouldn't want a store hanging over my head.
Yeah.
So what you try and sell the stuff online, but guess what? Everybody and their mother is selling stuff online. I don't like you. We like to go in. We like the way the store smells.
Exactly.
I like to touch. Look, I have showing you this pillow. I want to touch this pillow. I want to feel the texture. I want to feel the fringe on the pillow. I can't do that from a damn flat picture. And I am not your online shopper. You know what I will do? This is about as online as I get. I will go into like a Steve Madden store, you know, and try something on, a shoe, not buy it there, write down the style number. And a lot of people do this. And then come home, go to one of my sale sites, wait for that pair of shoes to come on sale. And I know they fit. And then I order them. So I keep a little list with that. And then there's one company where I get all my drag attire from. It's called Fashion Nova. And the reason I'm confident, not only is there stuff over the top glitz, it's very inexpensive for what it is. I mean, the sequins don't fall off, Jordan. That's like, but everything they make is lycra-y and stretchy. And even though I would in the world probably be like a medium, I know with them I can buy a large and any of their sequined lycra stuff, and it's going to look amazing on me.
Yeah.
So that they are only online Fashion Nova. Oh, I gave you my tips. So okay, these girls out there are writing down Fashion Nova. But I found out about Fashion Nova from a drag friend of mine. And I'm like, where the hell did that dress is stunning? I want that dress. And Bell Pepper says to me, oh, it's Fashion Nova. You don't know about them? I go, no. And then I go on their website. And it's like, I didn't even know where to start. And just gorgeous.
It's like the IKEA of drag attire. It's like there's just
I love it.
Like you get a headache.
Yes. And the sequins don't fall off. I wasn't expecting that. I'm so used to like suffering with the sequins falling off. So that's, I love that you asked about fit modeling. That's what fit modeling is. And that's
that's awesome. Like I said, I think it's just really amazing that you have your head and your hand and your interests in so many different spots. I think that's what makes you a really fascinating
gosh.
And I can't wait to get back to New York and hang out again face to face.
When is that happening? I feel like I'm always asking you that. When are you coming back, Jordan?
Well, I don't know. I was last there because I was doing the Nat King Cole show.
Right.
But then I had the opportunity to open in Vegas. And so I ended up closing the Nat King Cole show specifically. So I haven't been since we closed. And I think I closed in October. And this is the longest I've ever been away from New York City.
Wow.
Miss it.
Honestly, and I know you're moving on, and I know it's not to New York. When should you come back to New York? And this is honest and from the heart, when it's safe.
Amen.
I didn't think we were going to get hit, and I'm smart, and I didn't think when they said epicenter, I didn't think it was going to be what it was, and it was above and beyond what it was. And now that everyone is getting that blood test, myself included, I'm really excited. May 15th, I'm giving blood. I'm going to be my blood, my antibodies from having the virus, because I just had the blood test, because I'm like 6 or 7 weeks past having the virus at this point. I am going to be able to help 3 people with my antibodies, which is really cool.
Wonderful.
And you can do it like 3 times. But with that being said, Jordan, so many people now who are going for the blood test never had any symptoms, and they're coming up positive. And this test is 99% real. It's successful for 99%. So my point is just about everybody in New York City, and that's a ridiculous amount of people, real. When I think about my friends that sheltered in California, or you were in Las Vegas, you guys were much, much, much safer. I feel in many ways we were like sitting ducks here, and we were real. We did. This thing was coming, and I'll never forget it. Like right when this started coming down, when they said, "Oh my God, you're the epicenter, and the numbers in the next 2 weeks are going to climb." When I heard that, the ambulances, I'm on 79th Street, the ambulances that you heard, the amount of ambulances, we were sitting here really freaked out, and then we got sick. Wow. So, I'm very lucky. And my family's lucky. We're just very, very lucky. And I will continue to commit. I put up a huge post on Facebook that so many people commented on, and I actually got back, not only through the comments there, the private message, got back to each and every person to discuss, what are your symptoms? How can you prepare for the fall? They say maybe we may get hit again.
Yeah.
We all have a thermometer. A thermometer. People could, how many lives would have been saved if people knew their fever was raging? They're calling an 8 number, and the person at the other end who's just been trained is like, well, do you have a fever? I don't know. I feel a little warm, running 102. I mean, there are people that could have been saved in many ways. Nobody knew.
Wow. Yowzer. Well, I'm glad you're safe, and I'm glad you're safe.
I'm so glad to be here.
And thank you so much for joining me.
Can I just get a quick picture? My husband.
You certainly can.
Wake up. Can you take a quick picture of Just all you have to do is here. Can you stay on the pad for another minute?
Absolutely.
Okay, just stay there for me. Alan, just take this phone. Nothing fancy. I'm going to hold the pad next to my head. Okay. Okay, we have a special spot that we need. Just give me 2 more minutes.
Okay, I am here.
You're if I put this up, right?
Of course. Go for it.
What I need from you, I have the name of the show and the thing that you sent, but if you can send like the platforms and all of that. So I want to put the most information. When will it air?
Okay, well, we'll talk about that when we're offline. Because we'll
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
We'll talk. You want me to go that way? Shall I go this way?
No, hold on. Just stay with me. I'm moving.
Okay.
It's you and me. We're moving together.
Ah! Okay.
Hold on. This is great. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me. I'm so weird. Cool. Thanks, Jordan. That's like. So for I tried this for one of my pandemics was, because now I can't have people over till like they tell us it's cool. And I put someone on the iPad, but it didn't read as strong as I wanted it. So I'm exploring, depending on how long I can't have people over for. Now I don't know when that's going to be. I really do want to have guests on. I started another show called Lockdown with Wendy. It's my other show, and they're locked down with me, but it's more effective if I can interview people, sitting with them or whatever.
Yeah, totally.
I know you get that. Okay,
Absolutely.
Alan's taking the phone. Just hand it to me with a picture up. Thank you. All of Alan's phones are too sophisticated for me. You touch them and they're like Androids and Samsung and all of these things. Oh my God,
No, I like the iPhone. The iPhone is nice and intuitive.
Oh my God, this is great. Wait, let me show George. Ah!
wait, move it over to the right a little.
This is so cool. And then I'm going to put information underneath it. This is so great. I love this.
Oh my God.
I'll up later.
Well, that seems like the perfect place to stop the podcast. Thank you again for joining me. This
all right.
So much fun. You want all of your laundry list, your laundry list of handles and social handles and places where people can find you again.
Yes, let's go through it. Okay, so my website, Wendy Stuart TV, Stuart TV. My YouTube channel, where you can watch pandemic cooking, Lockdown with Wendy, and some other work, is also Wendy Stuart TV. And please, can you subscribe? I love hearing from my subscribers. Then regular Facebook is Wendy Stuart. Then Instagram is She's the Last Model Standing. That's after my book. Then Twitter is also She's the Last Model Standing, but standing is STANG. Then back to Facebook, She's the Last Model Standing on Facebook. And last but not least, Visual Journeys, Our Stories on Facebook, where you can read about our films and see some of our press. So yeah, it's all there.
Awesome. And we're at Showtime with Jordan. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.